Hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. Today we're going to be talking about the classic animated Disney film Beauty and the Beast. And I hope that with this introduction to you all, we will also prepare you for watching the real live-action remake, which just hit theaters 2 days ago. I should probably start by introducing myself a little bit. My name is Andrew Wu. I am a graduate, an alum of the Foreign Catholic University English Department, and I'm now working here in the library, in the Self-Learning Center, and in the English Department. So today we're very pleased to have this opportunity to share with you all in a very, hopefully not too strange way. Okay, so this is not very intimate, but hopefully it's not too strange either. We have some students here, so they're here so that I don't feel too strange talking into a camera all the time. And I hope that we all have some fun. Now, after this workshop, there are opportunities for you to learn self-learning points. And so go to the library website, and the details are on there. About participating in our live broadcast and asking questions, if you have any questions, I'll read those during the break, and we can talk about those. And that's also a way to earn self-learning points. Now, this is hopefully it's a relaxing way to practice your English. Hopefully it's also a way for us to think about culture, think about American animation and American film culture, and to reflect a little bit on ourselves and on our daily lives. I'm currently teaching an English in Use workshop. We have met for 2 weeks now on the Disney princess tradition. I've taught this course once. This is the second time. And the reason why this course has resurfaced, one of the reasons, is because this year is a good year to teach the Disney princess tradition. There is a film called Moana that is recently, it's not in theaters anymore, it's a little bit before the new year. And like I said, the live action remake. So this is the perfect time, I think, to think about this film and to teach this film. Hopefully this is something that we will be able to do to think critically about this film, Beauty and the Beast. So just so you all know, we're watching this version. This is the Disney animated version. There are different versions of Beauty and the Beast. It's an old legend. It's an old story, a French story actually, 200-300 years. But this is the version I think most of us remember, because first of all, it's animation. And that means it is, in many ways, assumed safe for kids to consume. You're allowed to laugh, students. Like you who are here and you're allowed to laugh. Okay, I like telling jokes. Please don't make me feel bad about myself. And another reason is because Disney has great power, great influence in not just American, but global culture. So let's talk about Beauty and the Beast. All right. First question I want to ask all of us. All of us should think about this. And if you're watching this video, I hope that you think about it and leave a comment in the comment box below. So why do we go to the theater? Now this includes movie theaters. This doesn't necessarily mean live theater, like watching a musical or an opera or a stage production. Going to the cinema also counts. Okay? Why do we go to the theater? And second question, what is the purpose of film and this kind of storytelling on TV? Any thoughts here from the audience? Yes, Messi.
I think it's kind of the same way we like to read stories. Theatre is another form of storytelling.
Yes.
It's extremely polished one at that. So kind of like how we need stories to educate, to entertain, to live vicariously through someone else's words. We go to the theatre and we experience stories in a more kind of in like a more, I don't know, I can't find a word for it, but
yes, a more
dynamic way.
A more dynamic way. Yes, very good. So you mentioned a few very good things. The purpose of theater, or going to the theater, is to entertain ourselves, right? It's to make us feel happy and to relax. You know, it's not work. Normally, it's not considered work. But you also mentioned that purpose of theater, of film, is to educate. And because through stories, we can think about things that are outside of our normal experience, right? We can think about things that we normally don't think. We can also consider possibilities using our imagination that normally we would not think about. Normally we wouldn't know unless we encountered it. But through the films and through stories, we educate ourselves about our society. We also push, I think, stories very early on into our younger generation. So nobody goes and talks to their kids in abstractions, right? Nobody talks to kids, they don't lecture to your kids, right? Unlike what I'm doing right now. When we talk to children, or when we talk to family and friends, normally what we do is we tell stories. And storytelling is universal. There is no, I don't believe there is any society in our world that that communicates without stories. Stories are a vital part of the human experience. And the stories, therefore, that we tell each other, that we tell our children, they transmit, right? They pass to each other, we pass to each other our values, right? What we think about the world, how we feel about the world, and the values that we have about the world. Okay, so that's why we, as students of literature, as students of film, or as human beings, should think about films in a critical way. We shouldn't just think about films as entertainment. We should also think about them for their message. Right? What are they trying to tell us? Okay, so this is the purpose of, this is the groundwork for today, I hope. That we think about film, particularly this beloved classic animation, in a more critical way. So, did I give away too much? Yes, I gave away too much. Right. So, it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Now, for those of you who did not see, those of you at home who are watching this live action, not live action, but live broadcast, where does this quote come from? Does anyone know? Did anyone not see the answer that I gave? No? Okay, so I will reveal the answer. Ta-da! Okay, this is Jane Austen, a very famous British novelist, and this is her work, Pride and Prejudice. Now, for those of you at home, wherever you are, or in the future, or sitting here, where in the novel does this quote appear? Yes, anyone? Yes?
At the very beginning.
Very good. This is the opening line to Pride and Prejudice. It's the opening line. Now, openings are important, right? Because it sets it's what leads you into the tale, and it sets in many ways the framework for the story. And so, as we know, Pride and Prejudice is about this, this group of women, right, who are trying to find husbands, right? And in many ways, Pride and Prejudice is also an extension of the tradition of Beauty and the Beast. It is a story, it belongs to the tradition of a girl, a man, and a monster. Who's the man, who's the monster? And what are the features of the girl? This can change. But this belongs to the same literary tradition. Pride and Prejudice is in some ways similar to Beauty and the Beast. Although there's no magic as far as I know, there's no magic in Pride and Prejudice. Okay. The second thing, why do I want to point out this quote? It tells us that this whole novel is based on the idea of romance, of marriage. And we know that the story is about women, but their goal is to find a man. This is the 19th century mentality that you must marry into a family that has a good fortune and rich, right? Okay, and let me ask you all a question here who are watching and students here. Do you think this is true? Is this still true in our society? No. Okay, I see a couple of you shaking heads. Maybe, maybe. Okay. But it says it is a truth universally acknowledged. It's universal. Whoa. Is it not? Is it not? Okay, it's something for us to think about. That this idea of marriage, right, of romance, and of financial security, social status, these things are part of our culture. And they still are. So that is a literature quote, a quote from a famous work of literature. I want to start by connecting this quote with this film. Now, when we think about literature, when we think of any kind of film, we have to think about the genre. Like, where is it? Like, in the universe, right? When we think about Earth, we have to think about it like, okay, we are the third planet from the sun. Right? We're next to Mars, we're between Mars and Venus. When we think about literature and works of literature, we think about who are they connected to? Like in terms of tradition, in terms of who created the works. And Beauty and the Beast, this live action, this animated classic, belongs to the Disney princess tradition. A few things to note, because there is not a lot of time today, but Snow White exemplifies the ideals that I think are built into this older ideal, this older female ideal, the ideal of the conventional, I think, conventional woman, particularly a Victorian woman. So she is, how would you describe Snow White? A few adjectives. Students, a few adjectives. She ugly?
Stupid.
Stupid. Okay, that's not the way it's portrayed. Okay, that's how we judge her. Okay, that's probably true. That she is not intelligent, right? That's probably true. We shouldn't say that. Snow White is portrayed as beautiful, young, innocent, naive, gullible, right? Easily tempted, right? And she's portrayed as a very nice housewife. So when she gets lost in the woods, and she sees a cottage. So she runs for help. She goes into the cottage, and she sees that the cottage is, very messy, because 7 little boys live there, and these dwarfs, which is the problem, they're portrayed as boys. When she sees it, her response is to clean the house. That's her first response. Like, okay, I'm going to clean the house. That's what she does. I think that's a problem. That a woman should be a good housewife and automatically want to cook and clean. This seems to be a bit of a problem. Furthermore, she waits for her Prince Charming. Every Disney princess has an "I want" song. It's a tradition that's often happens in musicals. There's a song that tells us what this character wants. She sings about someday my prince will come. She sings that I'm wishing for the one I love to find me today. So she doesn't have to do anything, right? She just waits, and things happen to her. As a woman, she doesn't have any agency. She doesn't do anything for herself. And this is the opening, the beginning of the tradition. One last thing I want to point out before we move on is that Snow White was released in 1937. That is 80 years from today. Does Snow White feel like it was 80 years ago when you think about it? Probably not. Snow White feels very modern because Disney feels modern to us. We sort of watch it as children, right? It's on the Disney Channel, right? It's close to us. But it is 80 years old, and therefore, it is pre-World War II. This is before Nazi Germany and the Holocaust. Nazi Germany was already forming at the time, but definitely before World War II. Before the terrible things that happened, certainly before the 60s, right? The 1960s, civil rights, right? And so, we have to remember this, that the tradition of the Disney princess is long, and it is also, in many ways, problematic. One last thing, and then we'll move on. There's an apple here, a beautiful poison apple, given by this, old woman. So old women are portrayed as either evil and beautiful, or evil and ugly. So old women are portrayed like this. I think that's a problem, but we can talk about it in our discussion. Leave a comment, or we can talk about it. And so the apple represents temptation. This is a biblical Bible symbol that women are tempted by forbidden fruit. And you shouldn't trust strangers, right? We know what happens, right? She falls into a sleep that's similar to death, and is awakened by this guy who just shows up, kisses her, and they live happily ever after. He doesn't even have to do anything. Right? This is a very old model. It is the classic model, and it is the groundwork for Beauty and the Beast. Now I'm going to run through now in our following session. We're going to take a break every 25 minutes, but I will try to go through the tradition so that we have a very clear idea about where we are from Snow White to Beauty and the Beast, and then from Beauty and the Beast to today, right? The film that just came out 2 days ago. So we have this idea, this 80-year timeline of the Disney tradition, Disney princess tradition. We have this idea, I hope, as we go through this quickly, and then we can talk in more detail about the film. So Snow White is the beginning, so therefore she is considered first generation Disney princess. And there are a few. Cinderella is also considered first generation, post Second World War, right, 1950. But Cinderella, what she does is things also happen to her, right? Not to mention that, the princesses, they talk to animals and they sing, and this is what princesses do, right? They have animal slaves to do the things that, okay, that was a joke. But anyway, animals are portrayed as being able to communicate with these princesses very often. Just a few things. Cinderella she cannot actively do anything, right? She cannot actively say, I will go to the ball. Right? In this film, she cannot. So she dreams. So Cinderella has this famous song called A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes when you're fast asleep. Right? I will sing for you because it's not legal to play because this is a live broadcast, so I will sing for you, okay? And so she dreams, that's all she does. She dreams and she believes, this is what she does. There's a conviction. But there's also very conventional things, for instance, the glass slipper. The glass slipper and of course the midnight deadline, right? 福大灰姑娘. Am I allowed to say that? Anyway, the idea of midnight, and girls should be home by midnight. Right? They cannot stay out because they need to be protected, right? Or else they're considered, not so good, right? This ideal, this kind of female ideal, is ingrained into the film, and this idea that her shoe is, she's the only person that can fit into this glass slipper, this symbol of preciousness, this symbol of dignity, is problematic, I think. And of course, the prince doesn't do anything in the film either. Last first generation Disney princess is Sleeping Beauty. Her name is Aurora. actually. We don't call her Sleeping, right? We don't call her Sleeping, nor do we call her Beauty. She's called Aurora. And what she does in the film is similar, right? She gets tempted, right, to touch a spinning wheel. She gets cursed by an old woman, a witch, and therefore, the problem we have here with Sleeping Beauty is that she also doesn't have any agency. Her song is, I know you, I've walked with you once upon a dream, right, when the prince appears. So there is more of a dynamic, I suppose, but there are still some problems here. And so this is, considered first generation, 1959. So this is before important human rights, social civil rights activism, before the major times, which is the 60s, in the United States. Now the prince here, he has to slay a dragon. That's good, right? At least he has to slay a dragon and not just show up and kiss a corpse, right? At least that's what he has to do. He has to do this, okay? At least that's fine. So we move on. There's a sort of in-between. The Little Mermaid. We need to take a break now because this is a live broadcast and we get bored with live broadcasts. So we will talk about this new generation, 1989, 30 years, and we have a new kind of princess. Okay? In a few minutes when we come back. Thank you all very much.